This happened last year. I had bought movie tickets for me and my then girlfriend to see Avengers Endgame on the opening weekend. I'll admit, I like the MCU movies, but I'm not what I would call a massive fanboy. To me they are all pretty good but generally forgettable. Regardless, I had been excited to see this one. Unfortunately, as fate would have it, I ended up sitting next to the most annoying moviegoer in cinema history. He was the type of guy that commented on everything during the movie, and not softly either. He was talking like he was at a football stadium. Black Widow appears on screen. Oh my god, that's Black Widow, and would then proceed to explain who the character is to the girl sitting next to him. Iron Man shows up on screen, same story. That cringeworthy scene with all the women being miraculously available during the final battle to pose for a poster and then back up Captain Marvel. Oh my god, it's the woman. They are gonna kick some serious butt now. You get the point. But this was his commentary throughout the whole film. The girl sitting next to him seemed so embarrassed that she was sliding deeper and deeper into her seat every time he opened his mouth. Cue the PettyRevenge. I had read online that Endgame had no post-credit sequence. Honestly, even if it had, I'm not sure we would have stayed for it, because my girlfriend and I both just wanted to get away from this guy. Before standing up though, I leaned over to him and told him that I'd actually already seen the movie this morning, so I'm not gonna stay for the post-credit sequence again. But it is insane. It completely starts off phase 4. The guy's face lit up as if he had just been told that he won the lottery. I walked out feeling good that I would at least be spoiling one part of the movie for him, because he had ruined the entire film for both me and my girlfriend. And yes, I know he probably would have stayed anyway, but it made me feel better knowing I had built his hopes up for nothing.
A bit older story. This happened almost 14 years ago. My now ex-husband worked at 24-hour shifts, and that night he didn't come home after his shift had ended. I was very worried. I went to see his workplace, where they said he went home after the end of his shift. His friends knew nothing about him. He didn't answer the phone. I was 9 months pregnant at the time, so you can imagine how upset I was. I didn't sleep at all that night. In the morning he finally showed up with a hangover and said he didn't want to be a father anymore. I was shocked. What do you mean, he doesn't want to be a father anymore? We already had a 3-year-old daughter by that moment who was a genuine daddy's little girl. He said he needed time to figure things out for himself, that he doesn't love me anymore. I literally collapsed. I called my mother crying, packed 2 suitcases, one for myself and the other for my daughter, and the ex took me to my mother's place. I had time to pull myself together by then, and as he wished, we agreed to take a half-year break. That he still be there for me and the kids. Wrong. A week later, he asked me for a divorce. I didn't give it to him. I told him, our children are not guilty of anything and the smaller one has the right to be born from a legal marriage. 2 weeks after the breakup, I found out he was cheating on me with another woman who also had a husband and a little son. 2 families got broken up at the same time. 3 weeks after the breakup, I gave birth to our second daughter, and she looked just like him. My eyes, but everything else was like him. I cried, 'cause I knew she will never be able to grow up with her dad. I called him and told that the baby was born and I need him to come with me so we can name our baby and get a birth certificate for her. He said no, he's busy, being out with his friends partying for a week. I hated him at that point. So I called the local government and asked if I was legally married and wanted to name the child. Would my husband have to be there with me? I was told no, just take the marriage certificate with you and that's enough. Of course, you can't do that nowadays, but then you could. Anyone who want to comment that the baby wasn't his, both our girls are his. I never cheated on him. Cheating goes against everything I believe in. The day after I got out of the hospital, I went to name my daughter, but I didn't mention it him. 3 weeks later he called me and shouted why did he have to read about our child's name in a local newspaper? In our country, the names and dates of birth of new babies, in smaller towns are put in a local newspaper. I answered him calmly, you didn't have time to come with me, your friends were more important, so you didn't deserve to know. Before the breakup, he insisted that we only give one first name. Our first daughter has 2. Since he didn't come with me to name her, I put 2 first names. He should have come along. His mistake. She was 6 months old when he first saw him, 'cause he didn't bother to visit her. Before the divorce, I put alimony on him through court. We signed the divorce papers 6 months later and it was 4 days after our 40th wedding anniversary. But on our anniversary I called him and said happy anniversary a whole. And a year late, on the 1st of April I called him again and said that there was a mix-up with the divorce papers, we're still married. He freaked out. He said he didn't want to have a wife and kids and blah blah blah. I told him that, too bad, you have 2 kids till the day you die, but you don't have a wife. April's fool, you idiot. And hanged up the phone. It felt great. Edit. Wow, did not expect this post go down like this. Have to make something clear. I was 21 at the time, so I was young, give me a break. What I left out of the earlier was that, just before their split, I always wanted to give 2 first names from the beginning. Our older daughter has 2 names too, he wanted to have 1. And since he made a clear sign that he didn't want to come to the naming, I made my choice. And why was I in a hurry? Because I had no money. I needed to name the child and get a birth certificate so I could apply for child benefits from the state. Every child gets them, when they are born till they are 18 months old. So I could buy food and diapers and all the necessary things. I didn't even have a stroller. A month before the breakup I gave him a $7,000 for car purchase and a gill house repair, which the local authority had given me as a pregnancy support for the baby. The usual process in our country by the government. He kept the car after the divorce. He promised to pay me back in a year, but he didn't, so that's why I made that April Fool's joke. It wasn't my money, the money was meant for the baby. Someone mentioned that he would never get peace from me because I still bully him. No, I won't. That 1st of April joke was the only one and the last one I ever made to him. After that, our communication is civilized. I'll let him know if the girls want to invite him to a school event or if they want to visit him. Or, if there's any need for his data, signature to the school or any other legitimate paperwork. And I never talk bad about him in front of the girls. Never. Nor do I allow others to do so. It's one of my iron rules and no one can break it. Because this kind of behavior would change the way I and girls interact in the future. They have the right to form their own opinion of their father. And why didn't I give him a divorce when he asked for it? Because we agreed to take a 6-month break and a week later he wanted a divorce. Reminded him that 6 months isn't over yet. Maybe a small part of me was hoping he'd come back to us, I don't know. Although I probably wouldn't have taken him back. Once a cheater, always a cheater, right? But I'm happy Tat, he finally has a new girlfriend and that she has a child. I hope that now, he will realize what he has missed out with his dog all these years. He'll never get those memories back, but he can start creating new ones.
TL. Doctor at the bottom. This is my first post, so any constructive criticism is appreciated and could always improve. This is not as great as the other epic stories I read, but at least I can try. 2 things you do not mess with: my car and my food. A co-worker, Chad, let's just use that, who is usually known for playing jokes too much, decides to eat my snack size popcorn. I didn't notice because the bag looked like it was sealed. When I opened the bag, I was surprised how quickly it opened and I looked inside. There were leaves. I was already getting hangry, so yay. I was pissed. I found out it was Chad because he sent me $2 on FB Messenger and asked why, and he said he thought it was funny while I looked at him with murderous intent. If he had simply asked me, I most likely would have said yes just to be nice. So little did Chad know that I got his number from a previous co-worker. Reason being is that I was going to put his number on Craigslist since Chad likes to hang embarrassing pictures of people as employee of the month and I was one of them but didn't act on it. So right before leaving work, I entered his name, number, and fake email to a couple of online colleges. The next morning, I probably spent an hour putting the same info to several colleges. It was hilarious hearing him getting blasted non-stop with colleges calling him and texting him all day. He suspected it was me, but he doesn't have my phone number and I never asked him for it. He learned his lesson.
Mobile formatting and English is my first and only language, so any errors are completely my fault. This one goes out to all dog owners that live in a dog-friendly complex and still seem to have neighbors that despise and/or are terrified of dogs. My girl Ella is a sweetheart, but she's a pit mix, so people automatically assume we're used to it. Ella loves people and she loves kids. One neighbor in particular does everything she can to avoid Ella. She lives on the opposite end of our hall, so we don't run into each other often, but when we do and we have Ella, she visibly shrinks away and closes the elevator before we can get to it most times. If she has her toddler with her, she'll make comments like UHUH, NOPE, and shield her daughter even if we're all the way down the hall. This is fine. If she doesn't like dogs, I get it. But after a few years, it's really gotten old, especially because Ella has never given her a reason to act that way towards her. So cue my petty revenge today. Our elevator is a real piece of garbage. We only have 4 floors, so taking the stairs will likely get you to your floor faster, but we have plenty of elderly, disabled, and children that need to rely on the elevator. It's big, it's loud, it's scary, and it's slow. Today I was feeling lazy, so I took the elevator down with Ella so she could go potty. I see the neighbor heading our way, but she's taking her time so she doesn't have to ride the elevator with us. So as I get downstairs and step off the elevator, I decide to hit the other floors, knowing they'd have to go up to each floor, open, take forever to close as it always does twice before getting to her. Ella and I were just making our way back inside as she finally was getting off the elevator. I know it's stupid, but it made me smile lol. TL, Dr. Neighbor is obnoxiously scared of my dog, so I make her wait extra long to get on the elevator.
It looks like it is possible to buy my love. Subscribe to Helios for 3,000 Helios hugs.